one. Mookie Magic. Dodgers have won it all. High fly ball into right field. She is gone. He struck him out. 2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome on. Chris Taylor.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Scott Geirman, Senior Staff Writer, Dodger Blue. Here, my good buddy Blake Williams, Managing Editor, Dodger Blue. How we doing, man?
Doing okay. The first Cactus League game of the year is a bit of a long one there with not a lot of great stuff that happened in it, but we'll get into all that. So, yeah, it was good to see them playing again, but yeah, wasn't a great game to start out with.
I needed it, man. Game aside, we'll get into that, but I flat out needed baseball. I needed to see the boys take the field. I needed to see Yamamoto Day. I just needed ball. I know in chat, welcome in. Yeah, ceiling fan not going today. Promise you, we're locked in. It's still a little bit chilly, but chat, we appreciate you. Welcome in. I know everybody can echo the same thing. I needed Dodger baseball. Just had to be. I know it was embarrassing. We'll get into it. The final score is the final score. Who cares about spring training final scores? Just doesn't matter. But I wanted to get your immediate thoughts, Blake. This is just a pretty conventional spring training rollout. You got to see, a few guys in there, a lot of non-roster invitees. Anything stand out to you?
Nothing stood out to me too much. I guess, if anything, Yamamoto touching 96, 97 today was good to see in his first start. But yeah, it was a pretty conventional spring training game. Like, I'm not putting any stock into any of the results or anything like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say anything was too crazy from today.
Yeah, real quick. So we're going to lead off the show here. In the third inning, Bobby Miller, we'll recap the game, but just wanted to give a quick update from Bobby Miller himself. In the third inning, Bobby Miller was on the mound. He, threw an off-speed pitch to Cubs first baseman Michael Busch, who had a 105.5-mile line drive that hit Bobby Miller off the right side temple. He hit the ground, was okay, left on his own power. Bobby Miller posted on social media just a little bit ago, thanking everybody who reached out, said it really means a lot. Scary moment. He's all good. All praise to man above. Can't wait to get back on the mound. So Bobby Miller is okay. And Dave Roberts mentioned a few things post game that Bobby Miller will be in concussion protocol. Just all well wishes to him for a real scary moment there.
Yeah, it was a scary moment, but seems like they avoided what could have been much, much worse there. Bobby Miller walking off under his own power was pretty big there. And Dave Roberts basically said they're going to keep him out a few days. So even though Bobby said he's feeling fine now, he's going to be shut down for probably 2 or 3 days, and then they're going to reevaluate him from there and then decide what to do next. But yeah, in concussion protocol, he's going to get tests from the doctors each day and undergo CT scans and stuff like that. So for the meantime, it's a setback for him, but could have been far worse, and it seems like it was the best outcome for what actually happened.
Yeah, just a real stuff you just hate to see anytime, that type of scary stuff. You just never know the immediate outcome. You hear you see the hit, you hear the sound, you see the impact, and then from there you just hope. You hope that nothing's too serious. Ultimately they get up. That's the thing. So Bobby Miller, a lot of people, including you, Blake, this is baseball aside. When you look at something like that happen, it's the human aspect comes in you and you say, damn, man, this is something that you just hope he's okay. But Bobby Miller, hope he's only out a little bit of time. Everything's all good. Everything gets checked out here with concussion protocol. They take the time. Dodgers will allow him that. I know Bobby will want to get back on the mound there. And to his wishes that, he'll want to get out there as soon as he can there. We got a first super chat here from 300. What's up?
One more encouraging thing from that is when the trainers were asking Bobby Miller if he knows where he is, he said, yeah, I just hung a curveball or something like that. And Max Muncy reported that one in his quote. So that's when Muncy said he knew Bobby was okay. So came out okay from that overall.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Bobby, we'll see you back on the mound and yeah, he knows. Yeah. 300 says, judging from today's result, it's going to be a long season. I'm kidding. It was just good to see a game. Yeah, it really was just good to see a game. You know what I mean? Uh, the off season, we talked about it a bunch of times, Blake. It was necessary. It was needed. Bring on free agency. Bring on newcomers here. How are the Dodgers going to respond? How's the front office going to build off? What was a storybook type season, and they did exactly that. And to what 300 said, just good to see a game, Blake. I know this is I need you to build off of this. This was your New Year's resolution for Dodgers baseball. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to smile, buddy.
It was tough to smile about today's game after that third inning there. I'll say that, but it started out pretty nice. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We can get straight into the game. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the 500. We're going to let everybody trickle in here across all social media. We appreciate you tuning in. On a personal note, I just wanted to let everybody know towards the end of the month, I think tonight will be the last live show that I'm doing with my good buddy Blake. I've got some personal things I'm going to be pursuing here in the next few months. So I'm just taking a step back from a regular role with Dodger Blue. You still might see me around, like in the Dodger sphere, covering the games and stuff like that, chiming in, making some appearances on Dodger Blue if they'll have me. But I'll be around. But just for this one tonight, let's enjoy us. Let's do what we got. I appreciate everybody over the last few years. It means the world to me. It really does. You've given me a platform to speak, talk on ball, hang out with one of my best friends.
Yeah. What Scott told me about this, I was pretty upset, as I see a lot of the chat is. I think it's because Scott just doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. He says it's for other reasons, but we can figure that out later. But yeah, it's been a good run here. We'll have one more great show and hopefully some more in the future from time to time. But yeah, it's been fun.
Love you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, you're the best. I say this all the time, man. Chat, I got you. Yeah, I'll be around. I promise you. You'll be hearing out. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, social medias, please reach out. We'll chat. Like, I've got some great things coming. I'm going back to school. I'm doing my thing. I promise. Things are all good. Like, this is great stuff. I'm very active. Softball team with the daughter is firing. So we're as busy as can be. But I'll be around. I love all you guys. I appreciate you a bunch. It's always great to talk Dodger baseball. It's been the best past few years. This has been the best platform for sure. So I appreciate you. We're going to get straight into the game here. I really want to talk about some things. Initial impressions from Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake. I loved what he brought. I saw a lot of chatter on social media about how he looked like this was mid-season form stuff for him. His stuff graded out well. He had swing and miss offerings immediately. Give me your immediate reactions with Yamamoto.
He looked good overall. I mean, the fastball velocity was there, which was kind of the most important thing, I think. You can't expect all the off-speed pitches to be there yet or the command to be fantastic at this point. So he had the 2 strikeouts. He gave up a few hits, but overall, it was about what you wanted to see from a first outing. He didn't get injured. He had the fastball there. So that's just pretty much what I was looking for, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to TJ Stats, Thomas Nestico on Twitter. He does some terrific breakdowns here. His stuff graded out well. Yamamoto goes an inning and 2/3, allows 3 hits, not a big deal. 2 punch, and his fastball has some good life today. He was added an inch on it. His IVB. So I'm very encouraged with what he brought today. And you look back to last year, right, when he first he made his debut with the Dodgers. They made the overseas trip. And with Yamamoto, it just looked like he needed that one outing just to put him in the past. And he's coming right into spring training this year. Velocity looked amazing right away. There was no ramp up. He looks like he's confident living in the zone. And Blake, that's what we like to see. That's what we definitely need. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we need to see from Yoshinobu, is that he's allowed, and he's got the ability to let his stuff play in the zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we all know the potential and upside he has there. I don't want to put too much stock into any spring training outings, but he looked really encouraging today. And Dave Roberts has been saying, this is a guy who's been impressing in camp so far. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to be a big season for Yamamoto. He could be in Cy Young contention. I kind of expected it last year. That might have been a little unfair expectations for him coming over in his first year, but yeah, maybe we get a Cy Young race between him and Blake Snell.
Yeah, that's kind of, right away I wanted to get immediate reactions, with Yamamoto, and he's got a good enough stuff that you can pencil him in and say, top 5 Cy Young contender, right? And with his splitter, he debuted that straight away today. Was living in the zone, fastball big time. He was like 64% in living in the zone. Not a big sample, but we're talking 14 pitches. So he's got the feel for it. And this is something I'm incredibly encouraged with Yamamoto, because last year, Blake, we talked a bunch, not even on stream, about how we were, until we saw Yamamoto come back from his injury, we were skeptical that they were going to push him back out there, or that he was going to himself, debut, or come back from the injury list. And when he came back, it's like he never skipped a beat. He took a little bit of time, and then once he hit it, it was that same tenacity. And you got to see that today. It's just that compete, and my Dave Roberts stuff. It's just all about that compete, and that's what he brought today. I know he just doesn't go perfect, but this is something that he's got all the tools to be a top 5 Cy Young guy, but he's got the absolute, the vision, the drive, I would say, to be a Cy Young winner.
Yeah, I think that's fair and true. I mean, we saw flashes of it last year, especially deeper into the season when he was their best starter. I mean, they didn't have a long list of starters, so it's not like saying it a ton, but he was really good last year. He had like 2.6 FIP overall, and I know he dealt with the injuries and everything, but I think that injury really slowed him down last year and kind of set him back when he was really developing into that number 1 type pitcher. So hopefully, like, the full off season of training, being more adjusted to the major league level now, and hopefully no injuries this year, and he can really like keep developing and become that front end guy that they projected him to be.
Yeah, definitely. Looking around offensively, you got to see a lot of something I tweeted out, that there's some, non-roster guys that I'm intrigued about. We can say it off the rip, Blake, and chat. You guys love this too, about, looking for that Brad Miller type, someone who can crack the roster, someone who's going to just play well all spring training, and you're going to, in your mind, try to formulate a spot for him, and where you can do it, how you can manufacture, an Eddie Rosario, a David Bodie making their way onto the team. I said, looking around, that a guy like Eddie Rosario has had a track record of being good. He has received a contract where he's been Major League Baseball, had success. David Bodie was good at the back end of this last year with the Chicago Cubs. So with a couple of these guys, Giovanni Gallegos, that's another one that you can take note of. He's had, a long string of success in Major League Baseball. Is there any possible way that one of these guys can do it? And who do you like the best of them? And even if you can't find a spot, who are you going to keep your eye on?
I want to say Eddie Rosario, just because he's been the best of the group. I guess
Mhm.
Gallegos had a pretty solid track record before he kind of fell off there too. But Eddie Rosario, we've seen what he can do. The Dodgers outfield depth, they have some guys there, but like, you're talking James Outman figuring it out with the bat, which who knows if that's going to happen. Andy Pages is good, but he has the defensive issues. So, I mean, if I'm picking one, it's probably Rosario. I still think he'd be behind Pages and probably Outman on the 40-man roster or depth chart, unless he really like impresses a ton. But he's just the guy with the longest track record, so that's kind of what I lean toward. His no positional versatility, just being a pure corner outfield guy, kind of makes it a tougher sell, whereas like someone like David Bodie can play multiple positions on the field, so that might help him make the roster more. I'm sure we'll see Gallegos at some point, and maybe he is the guy like with the most upside of the 3. But I have to see it first more than what he's shown so far, because it's been 1 inning, and he was pretty bad his last time in the majors. So he's intriguing, but yeah, it's probably just Eddie Rosario based on the track record.
Yeah, guys, like, I'm looking in, people are asking who David Bodie is. And to Blake, to your point, David Bodie had, from a batting average standpoint, I know Matt will love to hear that, and chat maybe too. This is a conversation we can have, and we'll expand on this in just a second. David Bodie, not playing the outfield here. He's moving around the infield, first base, second base, third base. He got most of his time at third base last year. So if you're looking for, say, like a platoon guy at third base for Max Muncy, David Bodie has done it. He's going to have some bat to ball there. He batted over 300 in his time. Let me look up to see how many games last year. We're talking, 46 at-bat sample size in 2024. So nothing big. Like you stretch that out there. It's just a different conversation we may be having. 724 OPS, so not a lot of slug in that bat. But with Rosario, he played a couple corner outfield spots there, has struggled recently, but it's just taken some flyers. But speak to the roster crunch, Blake, about why it's so difficult for something like this to happen. Like, just do that for me, and why? Because we can think it. It's the first game of spring training, but when you look at the overall roadmap of the roster, it's just going to be a real uphill battle.
Yeah, that's the main part here. I don't think any of them are going to make the opening day roster. And if any of them do, it probably is Gallegos having the best chance just because of the injuries to Phillips and Kopech and expanded rosters for the Tokyo series. But yeah, there has been very impressive non-roster invitee players in the past who haven't made the team with less talented rosters than this Dodger team has right now. Like, we saw Brad Miller was tearing it up in spring training, and then he just pretty much got released because they didn't have a spot for him. And it's going to be similar this year. Like, we're already talking about, are they going to have to send down Ha-Seong Kim or Andy Pages, or how are they going to fit that last guy on the roster? Like, Eddie Rosario, even if he hits 400 in spring training, he's probably not making the team over Chris Taylor. So, and Chris Taylor, we're going to say, is like the last man on the roster. So it's just like really hard for one of these guys to sneak on unless you see like 2 or 3 injuries. And maybe that ends up being like Dalton Rushing could be the guy they bring on as their non-roster invitee who makes a team if there's an injury to Barnes or Will Smith. I think if it was an injury to Barnes, though, they'd probably go with Hunter Fiducia because he's already on the roster and he'd just be a backup. So it's just a really tough path for any of these guys to make it outside of circumstances that are beyond their control.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I see, Klein in chat. Yeah, I agree. Like, with the guys that they have, Chris Taylor under contract, I just don't see, barring an injury, just like you brought up, Blake, barring an injury, I don't see any of these NRIs making the roster. You're looking at a possibility. So what would happen? Just explain to, chat, if people don't know the process there, you get to the end of spring training, you outright release them, or can you find a trade for some of these players?
Usually, if they're getting released, you don't find a trade. I mean, they occasionally could if it's a really intriguing player, but usually they're either going to go back to AAA. They might have an opt-out in their contract. Like, if they don't make the roster, then they could opt into free agency and they'll try and catch on with another team. They could accept their assignment to AAA and go on from there. Sometimes, even if they go to AAA, they have a clause in their contract that says, like, if you're not on the major league roster by May 1st or something like that, then you can be released to free agency and opt out of it. So there's a few different paths that they could take. I think a lot of them are going to end up going to AAA. Maybe one of them, like an Eddie Rosario with major league experience, is the one who opts out, tries to catch on with another team. But it's kind of dependent on what they do in spring training, what they think their outlook is. Some of them might see value in working with the Dodgers coaching staff for a month and then trying to move on. So there's a few different paths they can take, and you just kind of have to see what each player feels is best for them.
Honestly, though, and the good guy Dodgers with the embarrassment of riches, and it, Blake, just like you said, the year that Brad Miller was released, he definitely could have made the team. It's just a matter of he's an outside guy trying to crack a roster. The Dodgers really want to shuffle around players. That's just how it goes. But this year, it's going to be that you're going to see 1 or maybe 2 of these, maybe 3. You don't know. You don't know how they're going to perform. They could all perform well and keep doing this and earn a spot somewhere. But that's what the Dodgers will do. A lot of teams do it all around Major League Baseball. If there's an opportunity elsewhere, they will release a player just so they can get an opportunity elsewhere. That's what these teams do. They're not going to hold some of these players hostage to keep them in the organization. To what Blake said, stuff in their contract. It's just how it goes. But the Dodgers, what they'll do if they hear another team wants to acquire one of these players or bring them in once they release them, the Dodgers will do that. They will do the best thing and they will do right by the player. And that's usually what happens here. We got to sell a couple super chats. This one's from Timmy real fast. He says, prayers, Bobby Miller, bro, didn't deserve that. Not at all. This is Blake's guy. This is Blake's one rebound type player. that if there's going to be anybody, I don't know, I'm just trolling right now, but if there's anybody from the 2024 year that should have cooked, it should have been Bobby Miller. I got bamboozled. I think in Chicago early on, that first inning, I was standing up in my living room, clapping up a storm, and then he just has a terrible year. But yeah, man, Bobby Miller, I hope he's okay. Needs to come back there. I hope Blake Snell really mentors him and goes on and has a great rest of the year there. We got another one here. Laura. He says, wow, Scotty, I'm going to miss you. We were supposed to enjoy back-to-back championships together. Guys. I love all you. I appreciate you. Don't do this. Blake's going to call me later on and he's going to yell at me. I appreciate all of you. I told you, I'll still be around. I promise you. It's just a lot's going on currently. Personal stuff, life stuff. Everything's good. I promise you. I'm just a busy guy.
I don't know if chat heard say you were going back to school though. If you want to,
yeah. I'm going back to school. First, I'll let all you know. I'll keep you in the loop the more we go on. But this is just a good time for me to step back. You know what I mean? So I've always been honest with you guys. I don't know any other way to do it. You get exact what you see is what you get up here. This is just two guys talking ball. So I'll be around. I promise you. School is overrated. Yeah, I wish. I'm going back to school. I promise. Somebody said you taking over foul territory. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. Scotty Brown and the boys do a great job there. But I'll be around. You'll see me on doing some appearances all around. Dodger Blue, I'll still be around doing some appearances when I can, when time permits. But I love all you guys. I appreciate you. All right, we're going to keep it rolling.
Real quick. We're not fighting. We might after Scott really officially leaves, and then I'm going to be mad at him and fighting him. But no, we're all good. The real thing is, yes, I'm sad on the inside here.
Yes. Love you, buddy. All right. Somebody said I'm going to the store and getting some milk and never coming back. It's possible. That's possible, man.
Or
Maddie, man, I appreciate you. I can't put that up on screen, but I appreciate you, bro, a lot. You know,
the real reason you're retiring, you've hit that age. It's time.
That would be great. That would be the best thing ever. Just to have a club sandwich at 11 o'clock, have a pitcher of iced tea, and just watch golf and ball. Hit the gym whenever I want. Have you telling me how many PSA cards you want to buy all the time? Yeah. Veteran presence. I'll be around, Chad. I promise. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll talk. I promise. All right. A couple things. I want to talk the ABS challenge system, Blake. This is something that we've talked about for a few years. A lot of people are balking at it. A lot of people are pushing back that they just don't quite want it. You're good with this, right?
Yes, in the sense that it's probably the best we're going to get for the time being. No, in the sense of they could do so much better and just have the robot umps calling the entire game and getting everything right, not having to deal with all this, but it's a step in the right direction at least.
I love it. I love the system that they have it. And you know, we were in our DodgerHeads chat today talking about how I just needed I had a moment. I had that senior moment. I had a clarification where somebody called me 40. That's crazy. A moment where I was like, if it's the same as the replay system, the standard replay system, that we're not looking at, X number of challenges and you can only go through those. And then you don't get, that's all you get. You retain them if you win the challenge there. But there's going to be some strategy to this. You have to pick and choose your times, just like standard replay. I would not use these calls early on in the game. I would not use them like it happened earlier today, when Max Muncy, that was straight out the rip. I had just had the thing pulled up here. That was on Max Muncy in the first inning.
Second, I think. Maybe first.
Killing me. I think it's
I think he was batting third.
It was bottom of the first inning. Yeah. Cody Poteet against Max Muncy. Instead of a 1-1 count, the Cubs challenged the call. Muncy went down 0-2, and then he struck out, later on at the at-bat. Right? So it's a very fast system. That's not a spot I would use it. I'm sure they just wanted to test it out there. But I just really, you look at some players. I've got stuff on here and a name that everybody's gonna immediately go, yeah, that's someone who you have to kind of reserve those calls for. There's going to be a lot of strategy to this, Blake, and a lot of thinking. Like, you're going to have to prep players on when they want to use it, because there might be some guys around Major League Baseball that get a little bit selfish, that don't like a call and don't understand that, listen, man, this is the first inning or the second inning with 2 outs, nobody on, and they're just going to use a replay thing just because they don't know. There's going to be some strategy here.
Yeah, for sure. And I was kind of thinking about that. Like, how do you fully break that up? Because, like, just the situation, I'm throwing Gavin Lux under the bus here. He's gone. He was on the team last year. But say it's the World Series. He's batting ninth. He gets a terrible strike call against him, and there's one out in the inning or something with a runner on. Like, are you going to use that and potentially waste it on Gavin Lux when you have Shohei, Mookie, Freddie coming up as your next three hitters? Like, it's going to be tough decisions there. I'm sure they're probably going to tell players, like, if you're not one of the superstars, you probably shouldn't use it unless you're 1,000,000% sure. And even then, it's kind of bordering on, like, do we really want to risk it there just based on his eye? So it's going to create some interesting decisions there since the players are in full control of it and they don't get help from the coaches or anything like that. It'll be interesting. But if there's like just a totally egregious call in the first inning, like, are you going to want to use it in that spot and potentially not have it for later, even though if you get it right, you will have it for later still? But is it worth the risk there? I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error with it and trying to figure out what works and what makes the most sense to do. And I'm sure teams are studying it and they probably have a lot of data from AAA on how it works out. But it's going to be interesting to see how that's all managed.
100%. And that's something I immediately like start joggling my mind and was looking at some stats and like, Chad, think about this. You would create some ultimate player enemies. Like, I'm not going to say the one because I beat this name into a dead horse all the time. I'm not going to bring up the player that I despise, subtly despise. Guess it doesn't matter now. You all know who I'm talking about. Think about that player burning a challenge at the worst spot possible. And that's when it just costs your team the game later on. That's what we're talking about here. So there will be some nuance to it. There will be some game planning with these players, and it has to be immediate. You can't like turn and look for replay and say like, should I challenge this? It has to be immediate. And the first name that comes to mind of players that I love, mind you, I'm going to preface it with this, Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is a player that is going to absolutely have to, save these calls. Like the team will have to save these calls for Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts completely gets, hosed on more calls out of the strike zone than any Dodger by far. And it's not even close. Like Mookie Betts is a player that gets everything called against him. Yeah, people know right away. He gets shafted a ton. So Mookie Betts, I remember I saw a stat from like Inside Edge. I just had it pulled up. Yeah, from the beginning of the season through early June, he was, clear ahead of strikes called out of the zone. And then that trend completely continued throughout the rest of the year. I think he finished top 3, right? Something like over 50% of the pitches thrown against him were call strikes, crazy stuff. He gets more stuff called out of the strike zone than any player in Major League Baseball, in the Dodgers organization. So he's someone that you definitely have to say, Mookie Betts, it's in your hands, man. Like you've got 2, let him rip, but you got to do it right away. Is there, you know that too, without even looking up the stats. He's the one, right?
Yeah, but also like you can't just save it for Mookie because like what if it happens to someone else in a situation there? Like I was in my example earlier with Gavin Lux, like it's hard to tell him don't challenge it because you're not good enough. Like you got to inspire some confidence in your players type thing. Or do you come up with a system where you only use it when runners are on base or something and you think it could benefit you there? Like it's going to create some interesting decisions here. And I'm curious to see how the Dodgers end up managing that and what they end up going with, because you don't want to waste it on like Miguel Rojas, Austin Barnes, Gavin Lux type players when it could benefit a Shohei Ohtani or a Freddie Freeman or Teoscar Hernandez or something like that. But if it's just such an egregious call and everyone knows that it's a mistake pitch, like you got to give them the green light to challenge it. Yeah. But I'm sure those players are also going to make mistakes at times and it could cost them later. So it adds strategy that I like. I just wish that we had the umpires getting it right every single time. And maybe they do like one challenge per batter per game kind of thing. Like, so everyone gets one and then you have 9 total throughout the game, essentially. Like maybe that makes more sense down the line for MLB. This is really a stepping point for them to test out other things and figure out how to make this work. And it's not coming to Major League Baseball this year. The earliest would be next year if it happens. So it's still just trial run and testing, but I think it's going to be interesting to see in spring training.
There's no chance that it comes to Major League Baseball this year?
No, Manfred said next year is the earliest possible timeline.
I just feel that if it has such good implementation now, like I feel like fans are going to just be so annoyed that they got a taste of it in spring and right away. Like this isn't a cup of coffee. Like this is a good sample size. And we're going to get so used to it. We're going to say, man, this is just out of control. We should have had this from the jump. I love it.
It'll be like the DH. They gave us it for a year in 2020, then took it away, and then brought it back after. So, yeah, it's going to be similar to that.
And then I saw people in chat. I think it was GI. I forgot who it was. Might have been BC. Brought up like at that point, just go straight to robo umps. Just go straight to that. And it's this just to what Blake said. This is just an absolute beginner's block to changing a humongous part of the game, which is the human element. That is the third team that you've got to play. And you absolutely do. Having to go with, game plan against umpires, and they definitely do, against umpires that are hitter friendly, pitcher friendly. You favor one part of the strike zone than the other. You pick up on tendencies. It's just what's crazy, Blake, is that those tendencies will be there throughout the game. And then someone will get a call out off the plate, and they've been calling it all night. But it gets called, a strike outside, and then they challenge it and it's a ball, and you can just keep peppering it. And that's just how it goes. It's going to be to the point where those little umpire nuances are going to be like, we can just challenge this and we know you're wrong. And then it's going to be 2 batters later and they don't challenge it and they call it a strike, but we know it's a ball. So it's going to paint some of these umpires in a really bad light, not as much like as they already do because people hate umpires. But it's gonna create some tension. I think a little bit extra added tension.
Yeah, it might be interesting to see if teams use it early in a game to try and tell the umpire that's not a strike, you're wrong. You gotta flip that around, because I know they talk to umpires about things like that. They're like, hey, I think that's outside, blue kind of thing. And if that keeps happening early in a game, and then you challenge one and it turns out to be a ball or a strike in the other way than the umpire called it, makes your case pretty strong there. And then does it kind of force the umpire to adjust a bit and stop calling that? Or is the umpire going to be stubborn and keep saying, I'm not listening to the robot umpire, and keep moving on with how he was calling a game, which that's really going to frustrate players if it's the same spot that was just overturned, but they keep calling it. Could lead to some more players getting kicked out with some choice words for the umpires there. But yeah, I think that's going to be a little game within the game going on to see how they all manage that. But like we said, we're pretty much a year away from it at the earliest of really happening, because I doubt there's going to be too many arguments in spring training about it.
What does Blake Williams want? What does Blake Williams want with automatic ball strikes? Do you want it now? Do you want full-blown robo-umps for calling balls and strikes, or do you still appreciate that little bit of human element? Because I feel like a lot of people are walking that line. You're going to miss the human element there, or you're tired of the calls being wrong. You're tired of stuff showing up, and I know people brought up that Major League Baseball and the television broadcasts are toying with the idea of taking away the overlay of the strike zone there. So what does Blake Williams want for this system, and do you want it to go the full automated route? Because I don't think you can be just half in. I feel like if they do this eventually, they're going to get to the point where you're going to see some of these calls go really wrong. Or do you think that they're just going to go full blown? But what does Blake Williams want?
I'm of the belief that if we have the technology to get every call right, that's what we should be doing, especially in the age where MLB is increasing gambling and very much in partnership with them, and people are betting their money on it. You want to see the calls be right. I've never fully understood the human element call to the game. The umpires are there to try and get the calls right. That's all you want from them. So what is the actual benefit of them getting calls wrong and talking about the human element? No one is ever happy when an umpire misses a call. You want to see the calls be right. You want to see the players out there competing. I'm just fully of the belief that the umpire should have the least amount of power possible to control the games and outcomes of it. I don't think they should be able to kick players out of the game unless the player makes physical contact with them or it's completely excessive. But a lot of times when umpires throw someone out for flipping their bat kind of thing or tossing their helmet, that's just insane. that shouldn't be happening. Players are going to watch the fans. They're not going, or fans are going to watch the players. They're not going to watch the umpires throw out their favorite players from the games. And I just feel like umpires get a little too in their head sometimes and stubborn with calls and tossing players out for no reason type things. And I just don't see the point of any of that. Like, if you can get the calls right every time, just do that.
He's cooking. Blake's cooking here. I agree. I definitely get it. But there's only one part that I'll push back on, is that I love when they miss a call if it's favoring me. Other than that, it's the wrong call. You can't, how do you miss that call? It didn't help me out. How do you miss that call? That's just unbelievable.
For the spirit of the game, though, like, I think if we had the option to get every call right, I think people would all be okay with that. Yeah, it might hurt your team sometimes. It might help you sometimes. But at least it's going to be fair every time. And you don't have to say, well, the umpire is being biased today, or the umpire is giving all this call when he shouldn't be doing this. And it just adds so much drama to the game that really shouldn't be there. The focus should be on the players and their performance every night, and it should never be about the umpires. You shouldn't leave a baseball game saying, wow, that umpire was just terrible. It completely ruined the experience. And I think that does happen all too often with people watching on TV or doing anything like that. Like, you see the umpire just consistently making terrible calls, and it's upsetting.
Balls, strikes, out, safe or out shouldn't be, subjective. Like, this should all be, it's ball, strike, safe, out. What is it exactly? Like, this is not like, the NFL, where it's, you've got some of these calls, these ticky-tack things where you can't really break it down. Major League Baseball, any baseball, softball, whatever. Safe or out, fair or foul, ball, strike, it's black and white. There's just the only gray area is what? Like, we didn't, that's the part. I don't want to deal with that. If we have this, just like you said, I want the technology. If we've got it, use it, man. Like, you can allow them to make the calls, like, balls in play, stuff like that. You can still be out there. But if you've got a pivotal part of the game, ball or strike, you can make that happen. And you should do it, definitely. And it's instantaneous. It's nearly instantaneous. And they can find a way to make it seamless and not change the game. The game's already fast. They could just do away without having to paint these umpires in a bad light, or even, just like you said, making them a spectacle at all. Just going to be there to keep the flow of the game, make it how it should be played. But it's going to change the way the game's played, Blake, because it gets that 3D box is going to be clipped. You're not going to like some of these calls where it's in the very back corner of the strikes and stuff like that. It's going, the very front corner of the plate. It's going to nick the corner. It's going to be a strike, stuff like that. It's going to change the game a little bit. But to what you said, like, it should be correct. We can do it.
I think what'll be interesting is how it affects catcher value too, because right now guys who are good at framing and stealing the extra strikes are valued very highly in the league. If they're not getting those extra calls, like, it's probably going to put some catchers out of jobs, and it's probably going to be more of an offensive-minded position than fully defensive. Like, they're not going to get rid of the pitch calling aspect and all that for valuing defensive, but framing is a huge part of what teams value right now, so that's going to change it. But I think another kind of important thing when discussing the umpires and the human element and all that is, we just watched the NFL season where every single week fans were complaining about the refs helping out the Chiefs. Like, baseball doesn't need that right now. Like, it's trying to expand the game. The worst thing you can do is have the umpires ruining fan experiences, turning away new and younger fans. Like, you have an opportunity here to get it right every time. You should go do it and just put to silence everything about umpires controlling the games or games being rigged or anything like that, because it's kind of becoming a problem in the NFL, and you just don't want to see it in baseball.
Yeah, baseball. W. Rob Manfred today, for sure. Because if nobody saw the news, Major League Baseball and ESPN are, they're ending their current deal with, like, being, what is it, the exclusive partner? Is that right?
For Sunday night baseball games.
For Sunday night baseball. Let's get Major League Baseball on a better network that's going to grow the game, because the game's growing. It's in one of the best places it's ever been. And they're at this spot, Blake, where there's so many, polarizing stars. You just got to find a way to prop them up. So they're moving in a very positive, progressive direction as far as, growing the game. And they've got to continue to do that. And the last thing you need is, I'm just going to parlay it into this. Don't Care says RoboUmp should be based on Angel Hernandez. You don't need any more news that's negative on a part of the game that should just not be noticed. Let's just keep it going. Make the players the stars. And that's how it should be.
I think it would be kind of funny if they had like a system where it didn't always get the calls right and each robot umpire had like its own tendency and strike zone. If you want the human element of the game, randomize it like that. But for being serious here, like, yeah, I mean, just get the calls right.
Man. All right. Rich says this. I want you to speak to this here. Thanks for the super chat, Rich. Don't care. Thank you for that one as well. Rich, thanks for the $5 here, man. He says, I understand we want to get the calls right. Where do we draw the line? Why not just play the games and MLB the show? I mean, they do that. I'll be the number one player in the Los Angeles Dodgers. He says the human is part of the game. Speak to this, Blake.
The difference is the umpires are supposed to make the objective calls based on the rule books. Like, that's their job. The players, you're going to have the human element from them doing stuff we haven't seen. You're going to have Shohei Ohtani having his 50-50 season still. Like, that's bringing the human element of the game. You're going to have the exciting plays, the energy that players are bringing, the fun of all that. Like, the Major League Baseball rulebook doesn't say you need to score this many runs in a game and you need to do this in a game, but it does lay out that umpires have these calls to make and how to make them correctly. So you're getting the human element from the players, from what happens on the field. You don't need human element from the rules. You don't need one umpire's bias to affect the game. And I think it might even show more of the human element of a game if a player isn't having a called strike against them that should have been a ball and it completely changing the outcome of that at bat, or them getting the call wrong on the bases and you've already used your challenge so you can't overturn it or anything like that. Like, we don't need umpire human element when we already have the players bringing the human element.
Yeah. Rich, thank you so much for this, man. It's good to see you tonight. Absolutely good to see you here. I mean, chat, I see it. There's a lot of people that are very split on it. Like, you're going to miss, the umpire stuff. You're going to miss having, understanding and recognizing really early, talking about a small strike zone, big strike zone, where the umpire likes to call it. But I'll be honest, there's nothing I hate more in the game today. And this is not going to be a boomer take. Chat, relax. I hate overframing. If there's anything that'll make me more mad, it's a catcher that'll, I think I got to look it up. Like, I think it was like Martin Maldonado, the biggest defender of this. A ball clearly like 6 inches outside the zone, just rips it across. I'm like, give me a break. Like, this just looks ridiculous over and over and over. I hate it. I can't stand it enough. Like, I want those catchers to be done with that. I want you look ridiculous. And it'll even look more ridiculous when you do that. And the catcher's going to overframe, says Patrick Bailey. But there's a lot of good framing catchers out there, but it's just overframing. I respect catchers for that frame pitches, but it's when it's a clear ball and you're doing way too much. That's my old man take. Get off my lawn. Stop doing that. Make them look dumb.
I won't disagree with you on that one. I think it is funny when the pitch is like 10 feet out of the zone and they bring it right back, hold it down the middle. Like, come on, Blue, right there. But yeah,
right there. Hit the corner. Come on.
Yeah, I think umpires realize, like, those players, they probably don't get as many calls when they're doing that. It's a subtle art. Like, that's what all the good catchers will tell you. You got to be subtle about it.
I mean, I'm teaching a little one that right now, receiving, like, behind the dish. Like, we were out there today working on receiving, bringing the ball right where it's at. But like, you're major league players. Like, this stuff is clearly like, it's hard to catch major league pitching. But if it's a fastball 7 inches outside the zone, you're not fooling me. You're not. It's just not happening. If anything, it's just angry. Like, we got 4K now. You can't slip anything by him. You're not getting which umpire was it? Somebody's in chat's going to pull it up. The Marlins World Series or against the Braves long time ago. Was it Eric Craig? Is that his name? The umpire? Was it Levon Hernandez? Was it the Levon Hernandez game? Somebody's going to agree with that, but it's like that type of stuff. It's never going to happen again. And that's what some of these catchers make it seem like. They can just pull anything back for a strike zone. Get it out of here, man. Tired of it. Get off my lawn. All right. Tony Gonsolin, Blake. Tomorrow. Chicago Cubs. First time on a big league mound in a long time. Not in AAA. You excited for him?
Yeah, I think it's nice to see. He's been saying he's been like completely healed and healthy since the start of the offseason. He finished his year in 2024 making starts in AAA, and he was a potential option to return. So it'll be good to see him back. He was a really valuable member of the team when he was pitching, and I think he was quite undervalued by fans and just in general. Like, he was never that elite guy who was just dominating and striking everyone out, but every year he was a really consistent starter for them. His only down year was when he was pitching through the torn UCL, which the Dodgers said at the time, like, it was to benefit both of them because he was able to get his extra money from making a set amount of starts, and they needed starting pitchers at the time. So, like, he was putting it all on the line for the team and his extra money he was going to get from it. So, like, good for him. I'm happy he's back now, and hopefully he can be a valued part of the team again, because I think he's probably the favorite for the final spot in the rotation, if I had to guess. So it'll be interesting to see him out there.
Yeah, and it's been quite a long time. Excuse me, like, it's been a long time for Tony Gonsolin, and a lot of people completely forgot about him. And Tony Gonsolin is someone that it's okay. It's fair to have been critical of him in the past when he's gotten hammered down. He had his all-star season there, and then he was going out there and giving the team absolutely every single thing he had. Like, Tony Gonsolin's done nothing but, take the ball when needed for the Dodgers. And, looking back to, like, 2020, he was maybe a little bit over his head with some of those matchups there, but young pitcher. So now he's a few years out, removed from that. He's coming back from injury here. Tony Gonsolin, I know we spoke, I think, more towards the part of last year, Blake, and maybe a little bit in, earlier in the offseason, that Tony Gonsolin is someone that, because of his run-in with his rehab at the very end of the year and how hard he pushed towards the very end of the year to possibly, you heard some whispering, that he might be able to come back and, if dire straits, be able to factor in, but you just didn't need it. But he threw 7 2/3, 2.35 ERA in OKC at the very end of last year. Stuff looked good. He had strikeout stuff there. I've got high hopes. For what Tony Gonsolin's going to bring. Somebody brought up, yes, there's going to be rust. I expect the rust. But I'm just excited to see Tony Gonsolin out there. And what you said, you can see him in that final spot in the rotation. It works perfectly, Blake. There's a lot of these guys coming back who, at the very upside, guys like Tony Gonsolin, can be a strong, number 3 in the rotation with the upside to make regular starts with very positive stuff.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, like, talent-wise, he's the best 5th starter in baseball, or 6th starter, whatever you want to call him. I think the thing that might benefit him the most is he ended the 2024 season completely healthy, pitching like he normally would. So then he had the full offseason to continue building up, shaking off some of that rust, getting back into game shape and everything like that. Normally, guys, they do all their rehabs and then they come back like in the middle of the season or near the end of the season. And that was right after their rehab, where they haven't had as much time. But Gonsolin is in a very unique position where he finished the year making starts. He went through all the rehab, and now he's like back fully on track, like it's a normal off season. He was able to do everything at full strength this off season and train how he wanted to. So that could end up benefiting him quite a bit more than is expected. And I think that is an important factor to watch for with his return.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you innings predictions and stuff like that, because that's all, we'll talk about that. You'll talk about that in the, in the coming times here. But I saw someone bring up Dustin May. His debut in spring will come pretty soon. How does Tony Gonsolin factor in with that? And you're giving the leg up with, kind of a spot in the rotation to Tony Gonsolin here, or it's still kind of a wide open competition? Or are you giving the leg up to Tony Gonsolin?
I think it's a wide open competition. I'm giving the leg up to Tony Gonsolin because we've seen him be more reliable in the past. I don't think Dustin May has ever thrown more than like 60 innings in a season or something around there. Someone can
That's unbelievable, right? 56 in 2020. Most he's had.
Yeah, like, I'm just not sure how reliable he is. Like, he's probably the safer bet to go to the bullpen and make 3 or 4 inning appearances here and there and be like their de facto 6th starter / long man type pitcher for the time being. I think his stuff plays up better in the bullpen, probably. You have more upside with him as a starting pitcher, but Tony Gonsolin has been really, really good as a starter and effective. Like, every time every year he's been a full-time starter. He's been really good for the team. So
Yep.
I just think that the track record of health and actually making starts is going to be a little more valuable for them there. And Dustin May, like, he'd probably be the first man to move into the rotation if something goes wrong. But I just think he's probably the better bet to be in the bullpen and maybe take some of that wear and tear off him from having to go 80 to 100 pitches every fifth outing.
It's a very peculiar spot for Dustin May. It really is. This is a very pivotal season for Dustin May, to flash something. This is a walk year for him. Like, this is a spot where what are you going to get? How much runway are you going to get? You're going to toss him in the bullpen. Like, what do you do with Dustin May, Blake? Bullpen for him? Or you just kind of see how it shakes out?
Kind of have to see how it shakes out. The downside here is before he got hurt last time, he was like blossoming into a top starter. He was getting his strikeout rates up. He looked really, really good, and it was encouraging. And then, of course, he had the injury, and it's been like 2 years since then.
Long time. That's a long time.
He's a really intriguing player. It's just never pitching more than 60 innings in a year is tough to bet on. He's going to be a free agent after the year. Like, his best path to getting paid might be as a reliever at this point. So I think they might try that.
I gotta, I look into it, and it's one of those names where they've been out for so long, and it's a long time. It was like the Walker Buehler effect, where it's you hadn't seen them in so long. You remember where they were at their best and what how the best that they can perform. But speaking directly to Dustin May, it's like I know his strikeout stuff was trending down. Like the year when, just like what you said, the last time he was on the mound was 2023, and that's unbelievable. And his strikeout rate wasn't high. Were you at all concerned then, or you still think he can be an effective arm even with that? Do you think there's anything changed? Because I don't think we've seen anything as far as, data to come out that that they've been working on that, we'll say that problem or that area of his game directly. Do you think he can still be successful in that Brusdar Gratterall type where he's just so filthy, he's going to pitch to contact, it doesn't matter?
I think more that, like, the numbers weren't good, but they were trending up before he got hurt, so that was encouraging. But like Brusdar has shown, you don't need a ton of strikeouts to be an effective reliever if your stuff is just nasty enough where no one can square it up. So I think he can get by with that. It's just a more difficult path, but he does seem like the type of pitcher who can do it.
Yeah, and G.I. Bring says, echoes the same thing. I agree. Blake, I agree with you. I think, filthy stuff is going to play no matter what. You've just got to find a way to sequence. You've got to find a way to locate. And for a guy like that, you've got to find a way to locate. You've got to find a way to make it look like a competitive offering and not make it just look like a waste pitch. It's got to be competitive out of the hand. You've got to put it close there, but that's also where you can get beat. That's just how it is. And you can't overshift anymore. It's going to be some different times for Dustin May. I know I saw somebody bring up what, Clint Bacia said. You got to throw him out there, see if he can swim. See what he's got right now. The runway for him is small, but I think if there's, he shows success, they'll find a spot for him. He's not an arm where you're just going to try to hide him somewhere, not going down anywhere, not going to the minor leagues. Like, he's available. He's going to pitch with the big league roster. You agree with that there, Blake?
Yeah, he'll be on the team. It's just a matter of what role. And I know we talk about right now, like, there's no clear role for one of these guys, but we know how it works out in a week or two after the season starts, or even before. They're going to be like needing a starter, and he'll get inserted into the rotation, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, 27 years old, and he's never, just like you said, he's never pitched over 60 innings in a season. It's just, BC says, May never came close to Walker's best years. Yeah, no, it's just a career cut short, like not cut short. It's just been hindered by injuries. We've talked about a lot on this show that he's got such a violent delivery and such insane stuff and a violent arm action that just makes you question, like, the human body is not meant to throw a baseball like that. And he's pushing the boundaries of it. So he had a freak injury at the very end of last year, or we would have seen him. So he's coming into spring training right now, clean bill of health. Let's see how he is. So as always, we're going to say this again. We're excited to see Dustin May, but we'll see how long he's out there. And I really hope we get to see, a very, a significant sample size from him, and he can be a factor, Blake. I just want to see it one time. Find a role for him. It's in the bullpen. Find a way to get as much, juice out of that squeeze as you can. All right. It's questions time. Chat, you know what to do. All caps, question, follow it up with that. We've got a couple super chats here. We got a super chat from Rich. He says real quick, ESPN does nothing to grow the game. It's nonstop talking in those god-awful in-game interviews. Every Sunday night game is New York Yankees versus the Red Sox. They don't do a thing on their network to talk about ball. It's everything NFL and just a whole bunch of talking head shows. And that, it's a big echo chamber of the same stuff, the same people who don't know ball, talking about ball. Get out of here. You're not around. Give me a break. So yeah, Rich, I agree with you, dude. Like, let's get Major League Baseball on a different network, somebody that's going to prop up the game. There's stars that aren't in Boston or New York. Like, put them somewhere else. I don't even care if you have, Shohei Ohtani. You're not highlighting stuff like that all the time. It's always great to have those national network games, but you got guys like Bobby Witt Jr. here. You've got players around Major League Baseball who are insane stars. Cleveland Gardens. You got Jose Ramirez. Like, star player stuff. Grow the game. Like, just make it happen. Yeah, people bringing up Apple TV broadcasts, they're elite. They're just, people don't always know how to find them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Red Sox and Yankees fans would complain about the Dodgers being on every ESPN Sunday night game now. I think they lead with the most at this point. But ESPN hasn't done a good job of growing the game, of course. I don't think that's a question. I don't think anyone's debating that. The other issue is I think they're the only network that could do it. Like, you can say they're not growing the game, so we should go to another network, but who's that going to be? Can't be like Apple TV because it's a streaming service, or Peacock, or any of the other ones that they've used. Yeah. I think they used there's another one. They used Roku Channel, I think, did it. So like, none of those are going to grow the game either. So MLB's kind of in a tough spot here on what to find. It's got to be something that's on like every channel. Everyone can get access to it easily. And that's not going to be a Netflix, a Hulu, a Roku, Apple, because they're just all streaming services. So we'll have to see where they go and how they manage it. So it's something to watch for.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We got questions. Oh, you're not starring any. I got you.
I did get two earlier. Yes, the plan is for me to go to Japan. We're waiting for MLB to approve credentials, but we have a hotel booked. So yeah, hopefully that all works out. And I thought this one was interesting earlier when we were talking about the automated ball strike system. Why everyone wants to change baseball, but not any other sport. I will push back on that. I think other sports have changed a lot as well. The ones that come to mind are like the NFL. They protect quarterbacks, and a lot more. The passing game is more heavily incentivized. They've changed the kickoff rules quite a few times to try and get more action there. They're doing things. I think baseball has been a little more aggressive trying to change the sport, but other sports have done things as well to try and increase action. I think hockey, they had the icing rule that they changed. They made it the hybrid icing rule. That one comes to mind. Not a basketball expert, so if anyone has any in the chat that they want to throw out, but I know there's been some rule changes there. It's just baseball it's the oldest game of all of them. So like, it's going to be time to renovate from time to time and change things up and try and make things work better. But I will say, like, every sport has changed at some point.
Yeah. People hate basketball, man. That's so funny. Yeah, everybody's talking on basketball. Yeah, basketball's in a tough spot. Weird place. And Blake loves it, though. All three balls all the time.
Yeah, we need to see more people take mid-range shots from right before the three-point line and, real basketball.
Kevin Garnett. Yeah, man. Mid-range, yeah. All Kobe's all the time. Let's see. Esteban says, Rosario putting people on notice. Too early to call, Esteban. Too early to call. Blake said earlier, injuries will have to happen. But the Dodgers will find a spot for him around Major League Baseball if it's not with them. Another team will want that. Like, Major League experience showed it. It's just how it goes. You'll need bodies. You need players, and especially someone with some track record here.
Wondering about this one. Is Scott walking onto the CSUN baseball team?
Man. I would have kept playing ball, but when I was early on in community college, team didn't have it, so that was it. Dream is dead. I would have been a toolsy middle infielder. I would have found a nice D3 school to star at for sure. I was robbed. 100%. All right. Keep putting them up. What do you got? I'll go for a bit tonight, chat, just for you guys.
Might have missed some. I think Laura asked if you're going to miss us.
Yeah, I'm going to miss you guys. Love you guys. Miss all you. I'm not, like I said, I'll be around. I see enough, catch me on a night. I mean, and they niece. Yeah, I got you. I promise. Not disappearing.
When can we?
Ian says, I've been thinking way more whether or not he's okay, but when could we expect Bobby back? Dave Roberts said, a couple days they're going to evaluate him. They're going to look at him, concussion protocol, and then from then they'll probably slow play him, and just how it goes. Yeah, won't be too long. I went to Moore Park early on. Yeah, I was originally going to go to Santa Barbara, and then it just ended up being Moore Park was the thing. Got my thing from there, transferred out, and CSUN. Yeah.
Okay, we have some other actual baseball questions now.
Yep. Take that one real quick.
How was Hassan Kim during the game? How good did his defense look? Dave Roberts said he was really encouraged by Kim. I don't remember if he made a play on defense. That is his calling card, though. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I was also writing stories and doing other stuff. But yeah, he drew a walk, and Dave Roberts was saying he played with confidence, and which was good to see from him. It was his first game in the major league level at all, so it can be a little overwhelming. I know it's only spring training, but coming over from another country, not knowing language, just being in a completely different environment, then playing your first game, wanting to impress your team, it can be nerve-wracking. So yeah, he looked good overall.
Yeah. Let's see. Don't Care says, why does it feel like my dad went out for cigarettes and never came back? Sorry, man. I love you, buddy.
Scott, I have a question. Why do you hate us all and want to leave?
I don't hate you guys. I don't hate anybody. I've been so, I keep it a buck all the time, probably way more than I should. I probably push the boundaries. Like there's probably a stack of paperwork somewhere that I don't know about just because this is the best. Our chat's awesome. They put up with me. They put up with you. We bicker all the time and it's just the best, man. It's just the best. I love all you guys. Yeah. Scott, very hateful. I know. Random thought, but is Enriquez the first player to start season in low A and end up winning the World Series with the major league club? That's a very interesting one. Have you heard of that? Seen that somewhere?
Not off the top of my head. Did Ben Kasparius start in single A or was he in double A?
Benny Caps, baby. Don't do this to me. If that's
he started in one of them.
Benny Caps. I'm sick in the head.
I'm pulling up his minor league stuff here. But there's probably been other guys. There's a very long history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
He started with Tulsa, so double A. So not Benny Caps. But I'm sure it's happened. I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, it was a really impressive season for Edgardo Enriquez. We were clamoring for him to get called up when they needed bullpen help. He finally did it toward the end of the season. He showed some flashes here and there, left some to be desired, but he's going to be an intriguing arm.
Yeah. Man. Benny Caps. So I had a thing in my mind and it just, people are flooding the comments. You guys are great. My Hesung, is that correct? I had it correct right there. That's it. Perfect. Yeah. My narrative is cooking because not only was it cooking beforehand, Dave Roberts confirms it. The team's stacking the deck with it. We're here, Blake. Our second baseman.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has the inside edge on the job. They've said he's going to be a utility guy, but that was before they traded Gavin Lux. And I'm not sure they have a viable replacement if they don't start him.
And look, and like there's stuff to it. It's not just me trolling and just saying like, look, he's going to be a great option because you don't know anything about him. Like there's numbers. Like you look at Ha-Sung Kim before he came over, strikeout rate was in a great spot, and then you look at Hae-Sung Kim, strikeout rate continued to go down, and then the last few years it's done nothing but get smaller and smaller. And that's a trait that I'd like him to see him continue. If he's able to continue that, I don't care too much about the power. The power is something that'll be secondary. I'm more intrigued with his speed, his stolen base ability, going on there, working at bats, being a different type of bat at the bottom. I don't care what he does power wise. I want him to be a bat to ball guy, work some average, get on base, steal. Numbers are going to get boosted up just playing in Major League Baseball. It's just how it's going to be. And from that aspect, if he can get on base, but that's going to be the biggest thing. Get to the velocity, get on base, go from there. He's going to play a Gold Glove type second base. And now they're talking about him moving around the field. He hasn't played center field, I don't think, ever. So that came out of nowhere for me. So second base, I'm not saying set it and forget it, but if he shows enough, put him out there. Like he's going to save runs. Like Dave Roberts said it himself. He's going to win games with his glove. I just want to see that. Like give him that runway. Don't platoon him. He's got a multi-year contract. That's it, man. Like he brings a different element. You don't need every guy in the roster to hit for power. It's not just how it is. And like if the floor is him being a, hit for average guy, get on base, steal a ton of bags, play Gold Glove, why are people so concerned with his power stuff? That's what's beyond me.
Yeah, I agree with all that. There's other ways to win at the major league level. You don't need every single player to be a power guy. His defense and contact skills are going to help them a lot. But threw this one up. Then you went on your little rant there, so we'll go to this one now.
Good.
So have we seen any Dodger pitchers using the elbow band to track workload data? I have seen players wearing bands for tracking. I haven't seen them do it in a game or anything yet. They are legal to use in a game, and I'd be surprised if we don't see some players start using it at some point, but so far no one has. Yeah, it'll probably make its way to baseball more open at some point.
Yeah, they'll have to find a way, with the tech there. It'll be something Major League Baseball has to hand out, and that'll be something provided to every team. They're not going to let just team by team go through it. It'll be something issued by Major League Baseball, but that comes into fairness of the game. Then you have concerns with cheating and stuff like that, and that's when it gets a little tricky. All right.
We have two about Dave's contract. So we have, will he get his new contract before Japan? And will he get a longer contract than the one Aaron Boone got? That was 2 years.
That's all Aaron Boone got?
Yeah.
That's insane. Dave Roberts should get like a 5-6 year contract. And, 6 years, $80 million, lock it in. He needs
I was thinking like 5 years, 50, 6 years, 60, something like that. That would make him the highest paid manager and give him very long-term contract there for what managers generally get. Maybe
whatever he needs to be the highest paid. That's
I think Craig Counsell's at $8 million is the highest paid, so that would give him $2 million more per year on a longer term deal.
For what? Craig Counsell for what?
Because they wanted him badly.
Brutal, man. NS says I need an AARP hat. Insane. I'm gonna get the spring training hat though. That's been popping up on my Instagram every day, and I'm gonna take the bait. I just, now that I said it out loud, it's gonna charge it to my card immediately. I need that hat. If anybody was wondering, everybody was. Shiva says, do you think there's a possibility the Dodgers sign turtleneck guy Brent Honeywell to the AAA Dodgers? No, he's still out there. I know he's still out there, but he's got that cult following that it's just like, he was a piece to the World Series run. So I know a lot of people want him back. It's possible. Never rule it out. It's possible as long as he's a free agent. Like it's still a thing. I know he's floating around, so we'll see. If they need the inning somewhere, they know they can always count on him. He'll be one of the dogs, no matter what.
I think it would have happened by now if they were going to bring him back on a minor league deal. Same with Joe Kelly. I think they've just kind of moved on. They have other options that they like more. Honeywell, great story, helped them win a World Series, a big part of that, but he's not like the kind of guy that they're going to want to put on their roster necessarily, and he's more of a depth guy, and some other team might have a bigger need for him.
He'll be back when they build the statue,
of the entire bullpen dogs.
Nah, just Brent Honeywell, just the turtleneck. That's it. I need that turtleneck in the hall. Thoughts on that? You okay with that?
The Dodger Hall of Fame, sure.
Nah. Needs to be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. All right.
There was one I was going to bring up. What's your prediction for the season?
For just wins? I think she just means wins.
You can answer it however you want.
I can't. No, it's too early. That's like when I was asked about All-Star predictions, like in the January last year. I can't. No. I'm gonna say, Laura. I'm gonna say like 109. I'm saying 109.
You're not giving your prediction, but you're saying 109.
No, I'm saying for like World Series stuff. I'm not giving like big, that. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna get clipped. No chance. My last show, on here. I'm not doing that.
I did it last year.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Phil, oh my God. Sky says, Scott, thank you for the amazing coverage. We'll miss you on here and how you just straight no ball. Appreciate that. I'm gonna clip that. Blake, can you screenshot that to me later? I'll be at the gym. Text me this exact screenshot. I'll put it as my header. Best of luck with everything. Yeah, Phil, I appreciate you. Like, this is like, look, Dodger Blue has got an absolutely stellar cast. Like, Matt Moreno does the damn thing. Like, he is as hardworking as and steady of a boss as it's gonna be. Like, I can't tell you how much I appreciate him and what he's done for me over the last few years. I'm not going anywhere, guys. I'll be around. Blake Williams, man, my right-hand man. Like, he's had some tough times. Blake's come through a lot. Love the dude. Appreciate you. Phil, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Baseball's just starting up. I'm just saying. We'll be around. All right. Rich says there a world where Bauer returns to MLB. Somebody, if the team hates themselves enough, then sure.
It's not happening.
No. Let's see. Yeah, new blue order. Chris says, does this work? In order to legit the auto call, they should make strike really definitive. I'm thinking 50% or more of the baseball must be in the plate rectangular image. That's interesting. That's what I mean. That's exactly. I'm glad he brought this up because that's what I'm talking about. Because there are spots where you look at the 3D, pick of the plate, the overhead, and they look at the 3D thing and you have pitches that just barely clip the zone. And you're like, this is not even close to a strike. And it barely touches the zone, but they call it anyways. You're cool with that, or you're not ready to make it like kind of a determination? You kind of have to see how it looks.
I'm sure they have something in the rule book about how it works. I didn't see Manfred's full speech about it. Matt was out there covering that. So I'm sure there's something in there about like the percent of the ball that needs to be in there for it to be called a strike, or if it just has to clip the zone or anything like that. But I'm sure this is all stuff they're testing and working out. If they don't have something like that, they're going to get player feedback and make determinations there based on that.
Yeah. Don't care. Don't care says you're leaving because Jeff hates cheese. Did he say this? Can you guys fill me in on this? Because I didn't hear about this.
Well, to start, Scott also hates cheese. So, I don't think that would be the reason. What Jeff said was basically he likes cheese in certain situations. Like, he won't put cheese on a sandwich, but he'll do it on a burger, and you don't need it in a burrito, but you need it, like, melted on other things, and he's a big nacho guy. So, it was a very mixed message there. We've been saying he just doesn't like cheese to make it easier.
Iris knows ball right here. I hate it just because of macros. Yeah, I mean, look, summer's coming up. We got time. It's far away, but I gotta, we gotta work. We're in the 30s now. We gotta put in work early on. That's why we're gonna hit the gym tonight. We're gonna hit the gym tonight. NS, no, I'm not saying it. Nope, not gonna get me. I'm not saying it. Not out of my mouth. Not gonna happen. All right.
Will Arenado end up with the Dodgers sometime in 2025? No, they have Max Muncy.
Yeah. People need to respect Max Muncy, man. You actually have to respect Max Muncy. Like Max Muncy, for what the value that Max Muncy brings, guess what? He's got an option for next year. And Blake, are the Dodgers going to pick up that option?
Yes, unless they really like Murakami coming over from Japan. But even then, they still might pick it up.
Yeah, man. Even then, was it 10 million, something like that? Like that's what a value. That's insane. Like, what do you have? What did Jock Peterson just get paid?
It's a good question.
What did that mammoth of a man, absolute right-handed pitching killer? He got a 2-year, $37 million deal to absolutely murder right-handed pitching. What a dog. You know, Max Muncy, 1 year, like somebody said 12 and a half. Cool. Gimme. Yep. Fine with it. Somebody says no hard no on Murakami. BC said it.
Yeah, I think he goes somewhere else, but, can't count out the Dodgers on anything.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll be rumored to be involved.
It's all good. We're saving the money for Kyle Tucker. Remember I said that, everybody. We had to talk about this. You've heard me say this a few other spots. Aloya says, "Oh, good to see you." He says, why did no one cry about the Dodgers TV deal being unfair when it happened 10 years ago?
Fans tend to be short-sighted on things and don't follow the financial implications of roster moves and things that affect the roster aside from like player salary. So yeah, I mean, they probably thought they'd have their own eventually coming, things like that. Most fans probably didn't even pay attention to it or care, but now they're kind of seeing the fruits of it come together where the Dodgers have a stacked roster, just won the World Series, kept signing more players. And now they're like, well, why is it so unfair type thing? But probably that. I mean, it's also probably highlighted more by a lot of teams don't have a TV deal at all. And like the Bally Sports Network has lost all their rights essentially, and MLB had to take over for them. So kind of a mess with some other teams' TV deals.
Dodgers were just a few years into the, Guggenheim taking over. Just a few years into that. So it's like, if it was farther than that, somebody's like, it's like asking if it was 15 years, whenever it was. Dodgers weren't doing this. Like the biggest contract, acquisition thing was with the Red Sox when they brought over Agon, Carl Crawford, and the whole deal. Nick Punto trade. Remember that? Like that type of stuff. It was, before they're just out here signing every single top guy. So it's a different thing. Like it's a whole different ball game. Now, I mean, now they're on the top of the baseball world. Everybody hates the Dodgers. It's a Death Star. It's the Death Star. Everything that benefits the Dodgers, everybody hates. All right.
When will they have a black uniform? They are the evil empire, right? Probably never. Unless Nike makes them wear one of those City Connect and they're like, we're doing a black uniform for whatever reason. But I don't think that's going to happen. The Dodgers and blue are too iconic together.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a couple more here.
There's a few more baseball ones, and then there was some other ones just for other general things. Will Clayton McCullough help improve the Marlins? A manager can only do so much with the roster they have, and the Marlins roster is not very good. So I would bet the over on him being back in a Dodger uniform sometime pretty soon.
That's crazy. But yeah.
I mean, it's not about Clayton McCullough at all. It's just about like, that's how teams like that operate. They hire someone, they don't build the roster around them, and they blame the manager, and that manager gets fired.
And then they get rid of him and bring in somebody else. Yep.
And just repeats the cycle. So, yeah.
Yes, correct. Kira says, who's the 2025 ace? Blake Snell?
It's a good one. It's probably Snell. I think Yamamoto and Glasnow both have like a say in this. If Glasnow stays healthy, there's probably not many pitchers better in baseball than him. Mm-hmm. The health is a big thing there. Snell, like if he puts together his second half of the season or is just more consistent for a full year, like probably him. If Yamamoto can like take the next step and he's more comfortable, he might be their most talented pitcher just overall. So like they have three guys right there that are all ace potential. Ohtani was one of the top 10 pitchers in baseball before he got hurt. I wouldn't bet on it in 2025. with the innings limit coming off the injuries and all that. But also, like, it's Ohtani. We can't really bet against him ever. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to say Snell. But I think Yamamoto is a close second.
Yeah. Chat's on Snell as well. I'm sure a lot of people would agree. But we've got, can't go wrong. It's not talking bad on another. It's just speaking to how good Blake Snell was in his last 80 plus innings last year to round out the year. It was insane. Somebody says James Paxton, man, shout out to James Paxton. He did the thing. Did miss a start in the blue.
So World Series champion, Big Maple right there.
World Series champion, Big Maple, man. Somebody says don't sleep on Roki as the league doesn't know him. What's your prediction on Roki? What do you got cooking for Roki Sasaki here? Like how does he do? Because you've heard nothing but glowing recommendations or glowing reviews about his off-speed stuff and how that his splitter is. We know it's good. What are you looking out for?
I think he'll be good. I think there will be a learning curve there, probably especially early. I do have some concerns about the fastball. In Japan, he was dominant with it when it was sitting 99. Then when he lost a few steps on it, the flatness of his fastball really showed up and it was getting hit around a bit. So if he gets the velocity back, I'd be a lot more optimistic. I would say a sub-4 ERA, but above 3.5 probably is a fair expectation. He's really good. There's a lot to like there, but he is still a raw player that is developing and has work to do. But yeah, he's a really intriguing player.
Yeah. Give him some time. Give him some time. Shiva says, how can Hayward sign with the Madres? I mean, opportunity, honestly. These guys still want to play. They don't care where. He went, that's just how it goes. He went to Houston. That's just how it is. He says, are Snell or Glass now starting the exhibition games in Japan?
They haven't announced any of that. They've only announced that Yamamoto and Roki will pitch in Japan. So other than that, still kind of a question mark. I assume at least one of them will. They're probably lining up Snell for opening day. Although I kind of think Snell wants the opening day start, but it might be interesting to have him go the second day when they're doing the ring ceremony. So a guy like Glass now or whoever else is starting wouldn't have to be warming up at the time and could be part of the ring ceremony. I know it's not a baseball aspect to consider, but I think it would be cool for the players to participate in it if they can.
All right, Blake. This is it. I appreciate you, man. You know what's coming.
You're going to ask me my thoughts.
Take us home, buddy.
I mean, yeah, it's a little sad stream with it being your last one for who knows when. I know you said you'll be back and all that, and we'll have you back on as much as we can. But yeah, it's a little sad that the run has ended here. It's been great having you on. I know we all love you. The chat loves you. Our entire staff has loved you. It's been great. But yeah, I'm also very excited for you for your next chapter, going back to school. I saw some people asking what you're going back for, if you want to answer that or anything like that. And
I want to be an elementary school teacher, guys. That's been a thing with me for the longest time. And just so you know, I want to be, it's a good place for me. It's one of those things where everybody says that they can see me doing it. It's going to be great. I promise you, it's something that I'm going to follow. I get one opportunity at this life. So I'm going to go for it. My mom was a special education teacher for 30 plus years. I want to make that thing. Okay. So I got you guys. I promise. I'll keep you in the loop. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the well wishes. I can't thank Dodger Blue enough. I'll be around. Somebody says, save the youth, old man. Yeah, I got you guys. So I'll keep you in the loop. I'm like I said, if Dodger Blue is willing to have me back on as much as I can. So I promise you, we'll be seeing you around. Please hit me up, at Scott Geirman, hit me up on Twitter. I'm available to talk as much as I can. Okay. This last year was a dream for me as a fan, from where I sit right here, was as fun of a time for me and something I'll never forget. The Dodgers are intertwined in my upbringing, the fabric of my daily life. My girlfriend knows that when times are good, the Dodgers are winning. Times are bad. Times are just bad. Dodgers don't indicate everything about that. But it's Dodger baseball time, Blake. And chat, I appreciate all of you. So thank you. I read chat as much as I can. I stay up to date with you guys as much as I can. I read everything. So again, thank you all for the well wishes. To the people, I sent out those bobbleheads this last week, so you should have got them today from the stream that we did supporting the wildfires. So I just want to touch base with that again. That meant a lot to me personally. That meant a lot to Blake personally. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who donated again with that. That was such a big deal for us. So thank you. And to you, Blake, thank you, man. I appreciate you hopping on here. This has been one of the best, most fun times of my life. So thank you, man. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. Thanks for being on with us. And I know we're going to stay in touch often because you're one of my best friends still, but it is sad. It's been 2-3 years now that we've been doing this show. So
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I mean,
made a few moves. I've moved twice since we've been doing this, and we've set it all up. So we'll keep this rolling. I promise you, we'll make it happen.
I'll throw this one up from Matty Man because he said we won't do it, but yeah, you're gonna stay around. You'll be on the show from time to time still, just not as consistent as you have been.
And look, if the opportunities come up somewhere else and something takes precedent, and that's just how it goes, we'll rock with that. Okay, so that's how it goes. So everybody, I'll let you know. So thank you. Yeah, Don Campbell. Well, that's where we're looking at. Chat. My name is Scott Geirman, senior staff writer, Dodger Blue. This is my good buddy Blake Williams, managing editor, the best, hardworking guy I know in the biz. Okay, so thank you so much. You be well, chat. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. To the World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. It's going to be a good season. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you soon. As always, go Dodgers.